Mirror Now. You're watching The Big Story with me, Avni Raja. Increasing instances of children carrying alcohol to schools. That's become a big concern among school authorities and parents, and a really worrying trend. And that's what we're going to be focusing on this edition of The Big Story. But first, the headlines. Well, it's a mega Mirror Now impact. Government extends the 31st December deadline for linkage of Aadhaar to various services to 31st of March 2018. Meanwhile, crucial Supreme Court hearing on Aadhaar on Thursday by a 5-judge bench headed by Chief Justice Deepak Mishra. Mehengai seems to be showing no signs of easing. Retail inflation surges to 4.88%. That's a 15-month high. Unseasonal rains lead to spike in prices of both fruits and vegetables. Delhi government to provide free treatment for accident, acid attack and burn victims. Cabinet approves landmark scheme. Proposal awaits LG's nod. Another midday meal horror. Now 22 children from Mumbai's Bal Vikas school fall ill after eating khichdi provided under the midday meal scheme. Heavy snowfall wreaks havoc in Jammu and Kashmir. Several flights cancelled from Srinagar airport, and search operation to trace 5 army jawans continue. The school managements in Bengaluru were in for a rude shock when they found out that water bottles that children were carrying had alcohol in them. That students had in fact got pre-mixed alcoholic drinks with them to school. In fact, the Delhi Public Group of Schools conducted the check, a surprise check in all their 5 branches, and they discovered at least 16 instances of children carrying alcohol. Also, interestingly, the recent check by the school management actually came in the backdrop after some schools received calls from both pubs and restaurant owners to keep a check on students, as what they were witnessing was an influx of underage children entering pubs and drinking. That seems to be a really worrying trend that is happening. Let's go across to Shrija, who's joining us at this point. Shrija, this 16 instances in this batch of schools that have been found, perhaps more schools are facing such problems. What are you picking up?
Well, as you rightly pointed out, Avni, this is definitely a worrying trend as far as Bengaluru, the IT capital, is concerned, because you're taking only one particular school here, the Delhi Public School, where the management voluntarily decided to crack down as far as this particular case is concerned, where they have found, in fact, the water bottles laced, in fact, mixed with alcohol or probably with fruit juices. And imagine it's not 1 or 2 instances, they have come across nearly 16 different instances within that particular school across various branches here in Bengaluru. So you can only imagine that this is just not one school. It's not a problem with one school. There will be several other schools where such kind of a crackdown should also be carried out as far as the school managements are concerned. Of course, remember that they are also talking to especially the Delhi Public School management. What they're saying is that they have been carrying out such checks over the last 2 years. So that itself is enough, very clear to understand that this is not something new, which means it's been happening for the last 2 years and nothing really has been done so far to stop that. And definitely this is a worrying trend, not just for the schools, also for the parents. And we did, of course, get in touch with some of these psychologists here, and the problem that they say was with the parents, it could be even the kind of equation that they must have shared with the children, or it could be even the peer pressure. And clearly there should be a level or a mechanism within the school premises where such things illegal, where the children are carrying liquor to school, will have to be checked.
Right. Shrija, stay with us. Let's in fact listen in to one of the pub owners, because pub owners are also the ones who called up school managements and warned them, because recently they saw a huge influx of young children coming in and drinking. Listen in.
This is a matter for the schools to take up very seriously. They can conduct random checks, but to check every bottle every single time may not be viable for these schools where this is happening. Also, I think keeping an awareness level, increasing the awareness levels within students about consuming alcohol and the ills associated with it is something that they can, talk to students about.
With substance abuse is one of the threats that children in the 21st century, especially urban areas, are facing. And this is where the responsibility comes in at very different levels. At a school level, school as a safe space, looking at school safety in terms of the structural safety of the building, but also school safety that creates awareness among children on the risks and the threats that they face in society and how they can be protected from them or where they can seek help where needed. That's extremely important. It's also important that parents and family members, elder brothers and sisters, keep an eye on how their siblings are. Ensure they have the information that is needed to protect themselves. And very importantly, that when there is strong regulation on these events, you go around any pub or any alcohol place, there will be a sign about the age limit. But are we really enforcing compliance with that? That's also another element that we need to look at. So it really requires the system, the family, the society to take action so that children don't fall prey to substance abuse.
All right, we're being joined on the phone line by D. Shashi Kumar, who's Director, Brain Center and also Principal of Blossoms School. Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar, for joining us. This indeed is a very worrying trend that we're seeing. But of course, like my colleague was pointing out, it's not really the first time that such an incident has come to the forefront. We've seen instances of drug use, instances of alcohol use among young children. What is your response, first of all, to this entire situation?
It is really a worrying situation across. It is not just in Bangalore, it is across the country. And now we have a unconditional rights with the children to do whatever they like, whatever they want to do, and nobody is able to question them. That is one pathetic situation we as a educational institution or the managements across who are admitting their grievance. But on the other side, even the social responsibility is very important, as Dr. Ashim, I think she has very much rightly said that. See here, the responsibility is with all the stakeholders, even the parents, even the system, even the government, even the, because now MRP shops, so-called, it has been widely opened, and that MRP shop has a wide range of not only just liquor, it also have snacks, juice, all category of things which is being sold at this. And here the children are being left openly to have a purchase. And the small PET bottles, which comes in 60 ml, this is being utilized and that is being mixed due to various pressure, whether it might be for a fantasy, it might be for the peer pressure. All these things curtailing at one point, that is educational institution, is absolutely a big challenging task. But still, we as an association, larger association in Karnataka, we are giving the awareness to entire school fraternity to have this type of checks. That is one part of social responsibility. We are carrying it out.
Right. Mr. Kumar, stay on the line with us. We've got a caller calling us, Sudhir Pandey, calling us from Mumbai. Thanks, Sudhir, for calling in. Go ahead. What would you like to say?
Yes, I would like to say it's really very surprising actually. See, education is, first of all, I would like to say children are always very sweet and innocent. And if they are intelligent, they are inquisitive also by nature. They like to experiment things around going on. So it is, actually education is not only 2 to the 4 or some algebraic sum. It is an overall comprehensive development of a child. And when the child is in the school, the teacher should develop a connect with the child. They should be quite communicative and affectionate with the children. They should know a little bit about the child, what is psychology, what is thinking, his background. They should try to, give them a little moral training and explain in a very friendly way. How it is very surprising that, teacher doesn't know what is going on with the child and what he's doing and all that. And one last thing I would like to say, nowadays school, they keep 70 boys in one classroom or 70 students. So it is really difficult for the teacher, to control all that and to teach or to understand their psychology.
Right. Absolutely. Point taken. Sudhir, thanks for calling us. I'm going to go back at this point to Mr. Kumar. Mr. Kumar, tell me, in your experience over the last few years, how much of an increase have you seen among children who are taking to these kind of, taking to alcohol or taking to drugs, and among within the school premises, perhaps due to peer pressure, perhaps due to other reasons, but how much of a surge has there been?
No, no, no. It is, see, from very years old long, we have these practices and we also control this. That is not the thing. But now it is increasing due to two, three components. The first foremost thing is children have no fear. And the school authority or the parents are in such a situation, they themselves admit that we are helpless. Because even you catch them, you give them counseling, you give them all sort of remedials, and even you advise them not to do so. These things are being repeated in the various aspects, especially in tuition centers, especially in the fields where they go for play. Not only school, where we are not concerned only it is happening at the school level. School is a part of it. Apart from school, even these children are being found that they use it in their own house and they upstairs making 2-3 groups. This is what is that we are finding at the grassroots level. See, there is a larger thing, everybody has to have their own responsibility to identify this, bring them into counseling form, advise them. And again, if it is repeated, what to do? There is no law.
Right. In fact, Mr. Kumar, interesting point you mentioned there. I'm going to actually take that question across to Dr. Harish Shetty, psychiatrist, who's joining us on the phone line as well. Dr. Shetty, getting you straight into this discussion, what Mr. Kumar was saying, that despite, very often, despite counseling, despite creating awareness, despite all of that, we are seeing repeated instances of this happening across the board as far, from children within schools.
Teenagers will always challenge authority in every era on this earth. And at this point of time, it's a new age world, and children are exposed to a lot of things all the time. School is not responsible for this behavior because children also are seeing new things. But what is very important is every era has its problems, but every era needs to find its own solutions. So if schools and families and parents join together as joint families and see that they both stand on the same side of the children and provide counseling as well as build mental centers inside the school. One counselor in the school makes no difference. And with that, what we can do is we can minimize the problem, but we cannot stop this completely. There will be children who are different, who will challenge, who will have inappropriate behavior. And what is very important is high-risk children need continuous help and continuous counseling. Throwing them out of the school makes no sense at all. It's not the law. The law always helps you to correct. The school is a place where children are corrected. Families need to support the school in the same breath. Now, children who have got learning disability and children who have other issues with learning also all pray to all this. Bangalore, with NIMANS as a center there, still very few kids have been identified with LD. A large number of them have still been left alone. So what is important, instead of having a response of shock and a response which is reactive, we need to have a cognitive response, which means we need to sit down, think, come on the table and form a group which includes parent-teacher associations and schools and help the children really come out with it. Every era will have children who will challenge authority. This is inappropriate behavior which needs to be corrected. Such children should not be excluded from the school premises.
Right. I'm also being joined on the phone line by Tara Krishnaswamy, who is an activist. But before coming to you, Tara, I'm going to go back to Dr. Shetty. Dr. Shetty, in your experience, have you seen, you said this is every generation comes with its set of problems, and teenagers, by definition, question authority. But have you seen a spike? Because this is, of course, not the first instance. This time, this group of children were discovered. But we've seen instances of drugs and alcohol across, it's not restricted just to Bengaluru, it's across the country. Have you seen a spike in such instances over the last few years in your experience? Dr. Shetty?
Yeah, my son also around this age carried alcohol to a school picnic with his friends. We were shocked and surprised, but the school and the families jointly really helped the group of kids. Now, there is a spike. There's a spike because there are three reasons for the spike. Children attend three schools. One is their own school, then the tuitions, then the mother's school. Very little time to play, very little time to emote. The emotional contact time at homes have gone down. The emotional contact time in schools also have gone down. So it's a pressure cooker system of education across. So what has happened is these kids, when they need to challenge, they don't adopt any healthy methods of challenging. They might say, let us try and find, let's drink in school and let's see who can actually catch us. It's a thrill they want to seek. So what is important is these thrills need to be addressed both by the families and the schools. We can't make schools responsible for all the difficult behaviors of children.
Absolutely.
And there is generally a spike. Yeah.
Yes, point taken, Dr. Shetty. In fact, I'm going to go across to Tara Krishnaswamy, who's joining us on the phone line as well. What is your sense of this whole situation that we're seeing? Do you think that schools are doing enough? Do you think more needs to be done from the parents? Where do you think the gap is?
I think, one of the things that Dr. Shetty pointed out, I tend to agree with, which is that, children, students, all of us for that matter, have varying influences from varying quarters, right? So the influences come from parents, the influence is, from their peers, which is not just the school friends, but friends from a wide, variety of exposures that they have. It might be who they play with, it might be tuition classes, it might be other classes that they go to, and then of course the schools themselves. And all of this and the things they watch and read and everything. And as the world changes, I mean, when we say is today's generation behaving a certain way, today's generation is exposed to different things too than the previous generation was. And accessibility is much more. If you had to, today's parents who are in their 30s or 40s, right? If they needed to get access to liquor, even in a city, the number of shops in the surrounding area were very few compared to today in Bangalore. There are many grocery stores that you can go to and you can buy liquor. Of course, there's strict age enforcement, and hopefully that is working. But there are always cases where the access is much more freely available, and human beings have a way of thwarting this access. So in general, we all have to be more vigilant, but also we all also have to keep the lines of conversation open, I think. This is not a matter of, just punishment or,
right.
Taking the children to task or frowning upon their behaviors. These are, I don't know, in my personal opinion, these are normal cases of truancy. It is not abnormal in every generation. You have, kids that kind
right.
of rebel, and children
right.
have their own way of doing it. So staying, both schools, parents, everyone needs to keep the lines of conversation open and, stay vigilant about these things. Unless we have alarming statistics that say that, 30% of students or 20% of students or 50% of students are doing this
right.
on a daily, there's an epidemic,
right.
then you're talking about systemic change that is.
Absolutely, Tara. Point completely taken. Across the board, we need to have help coming in from parents, from school, from everywhere to, ensure that this doesn't become into a further trend. But on that note, thank you very much, Dr. Shetty, Mr. Kumar and Tara Krishnaswamy as well for joining us. I'm going to go across to Shrija for a quick, Shrija, one final question to you. How old were these children who were discovered? And, if you can very quickly tell us, what is the school now planning to do?
Well, of course, we did confront the school. We did speak to some of the educationalists. Now, what they are telling is this is not a matter of taking the children to task. Instead, they do not want to confront the children. But what they want to do at this point in time is create an awareness, maybe create a workshop. Is the kind of this is the kind of approach that they are looking at this point in time. Remember, like I pointed out, this is not something which happened in a month or probably 6 months. It's been happening for the last 2 years, is what we given to understand as far as the Delhi public school is concerned. Now that clearly gives us an indication that there is not enough vigilance, because imagine we are looking at kids, school children anywhere between 12 and 16 years old, where they are carrying alcohol mixed in their water bottle or probably in juice. Now that clearly indicates the factor where they need counseling, where even parents should sit down with them and speak to them about the peer pressure that they are facing. Now that is something what the education professionals are telling at this point in time. Now, if I would like to give you an example where there is this particular school in Venture Academy where they have already roped in one particular reformed alcoholic, in fact, to speak about the ill effects of alcohol to the children. Now, that is one initiative taken by one of the schools here in Bengaluru, and this is something which will have to be practiced and exercised in several other schools, because remember, like we pointed out, this is not something new. It has been happening for the last 2 to 3 years is what we're given to understand.
By schools to ensure that this doesn't become a trend. But on that note, thanks so much for joining us, and time now to slip into a quick break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the big story. It's day 3 of continuous snowfall and rain that has brought normal life to a standstill in Jammu and Kashmir. Rescue efforts are on to locate the Jawans who went missing yesterday after an avalanche hit the post. Army sources, however, tell Mirror Now that chances of pulling out any survivors looks bleak. Meanwhile, the national highway has also been shut down. Airports also flights are not going in and out. Let's go across to Mir Fareed, who's joining us on the phone line. Hi Mir, take us through what's the latest that you're picking up in terms of what's happening at this point.
Well, no good news as of now. It seems all bleak as far as any chances of pulling out any survivors, because since yesterday they have been continuing with the relief and rescue mission as far as the 2 incidents that have happened, in one in Gurez and in Kupara. But so far, no success. The army, obviously, right now, their focus is to try their best and to ensure that they leave no stone unturned to go for them. But unfortunately, it's been almost 2 days, and very slim chances that anyone would have survived. But still, the operations are continuing, and importantly, weather has improved, and there is an advisory as far as the Met Department is concerned. They say that the weather is going to improve from tomorrow morning, so that may help in a more precise rescue operation, and also importantly, aerial rescue may also be possible from tomorrow. So we'll have to wait and watch how things unfold, but unfortunately, no good news as far as the army is concerned.
All right, thanks Amir for getting us that quick update. That's as far as J&K is concerned. On that note, that's a wrap on this edition of The Big Story. Thanks for watching and stay tuned tomorrow.